Hello and welcome to your favorite show, Hall Pro. I'm John Makuch, joined alongside Jackson Shank and Farnsworth Hendrickson. And before we get all this started, we've got a lot to talk about today. We've got the MLB, we've got the NBA, the NFL, a lot of developments, maybe some things you probably already heard of, but you haven't heard our takes on them. So that's the most important thing we got. I just want to start, Jackson. I'll start with you today. How are we doing? Just general, how are we doing?
Doing fantastic, John. I just got news that I have completed training for my newest job, becoming a campus manager for Fresh Prince. I now sell custom clothing to orgs and mostly Greek orgs on campus. On campus and around the country. So, Greek orgs at Seton Hall, if you are watching this, hit me up for some sweet custom merchandise.
Gotta get the plug in. Fonz, how we doing?
I am doing fantastic, John. I woke up in the morning, went to the gym. I had some good steak and eggs. Already having a phenomenal day, and I'm ready to get this podcast started.
Man, steak and eggs. I could, you know what? Maybe tomorrow I'll have to make that my meal. That sounds like a great idea. But
Yeah,
hey, Jackson, you said you're a seller now, and we're gonna get into baseball first. Two teams that are most definitely not going to be selling too much: the Mets and the Yankees. Two of the best teams in baseball finding themselves in the Big Apple. Even though Citi Field's the one that actually has the apple. But we're going to start with the New York Yankees. The Yankees, I mean, to keep it straight, they are the best team in baseball right now, firing on absolutely all cylinders. The world's most hated franchise is proving all of it wrong. And they're having such a great season. It's been a lot of fun to watch. Garrett Cole had a rough start to the season, has picked it up a bit. But this Yankees team is really, really special. And I think that this team had high expectations, especially coming into the season. But now with over 60 wins at this point in the year, better than the Dodgers right now, better than those good old New York Mets that we're going to get into. But this Yankees squad, I mean, guys, how are we feeling about them so far? Because they have a lot going for them. Will they be able to keep this pace up, especially going into the postseason, which has been a struggle?
I don't know if they're going to keep up this pace, but they sure as heck don't need to keep up this pace. Let's look at the facts here. I mean, they're 13 games above the Rays right now. That's going to be really hard to drop on the back half of the season. They're on pace for 112 wins. Do they need 112 wins? Absolutely not. Would baseball love to see it? Absolutely. Let's see another 110 win season. That would be, they're few and far between, but the Yanks are playing great baseball and they're starting to play a lot more fundamental baseball rather than the, home run, strikeout, constant stereotype of this team where guys are starting to step up in opportunities. It's not just Judge and Stanton hitting balls over the wall. These guys are getting on base. They're playing solid baseball. Nestor Cortez is absolutely filthy on the hill. Garrett Cole's been lights out. So they're just playing all around great baseball. And that's what the Yankees have done this season. That's what leads them to be successful. Do I think that they're the best team in baseball with the highest ceiling? I still don't. Unfortunately, despite the production that they've had, I don't see the potential being a World Series. I definitely think they're the team to beat in the AL, but I don't know if they're going to be World Series winners when it comes down to everything that's on paper.
yeah, and absolutely. I just want to bring up a couple of players because my God, their stats are they started out low, but they are skyrocketing. As John mentioned earlier, he talked about Garrett Cole. I looked them up. Leading into the Yankees with the most strikeouts, plus three pitches are close behind too. Because my God, that he's getting up there a lot. Plus with Matt Carpenter now has like a 338% batting average, and right now he's at the highest percentage on the team right now. Also with I, I'm a butcher his name, Kenneth Fafla, SS player. He's up to 79 games now and 773 batting average. So, as Jackson mentioned earlier, the team is looking up there, but I wouldn't really personally be with them all growing as the team goes along with baseball. So, yeah.
John, I'm
You
interested to
got
hear your thoughts on this because
oh,
I mean, it's an interesting take that I have, that this isn't going to be a World Series winning team. And I don't know, when you have to run through the AL with teams like the Astros to combat them, what do you think is going to give them the advantage, or just give me your thoughts generally?
I'm going to be honest with you. I agree with you. I don't know if they have that advantage. They're playing really great baseball right now. I mean, if the season ended today, the Yankees are the best team in baseball with the best chance to win the World Series. That's just a fact. But there are a lot of tough teams in that American League. I mean, even Tampa Bay is not that bad still, right? But who knows how that playoff situation is going to turn out. And then you mentioned the Astros. I mean, they're still the Astros, cheaters and all. But the cheating is over, and that team still stayed pretty good. But I think the Yankees may have some bullpen issues going into the playoffs, and inconsistency issues have always been a problem under Boone's leadership. But I will say this is a different Aaron Judge. That's been the difference in this team. Aaron Judge was a guy, especially in the past few years, he was really joked about, memed about, if you know what that means, that he was a guy that would come to the plate, he's either striking out or he's hitting a home run. And he's improved so much in terms of being a great contact hitter from last year. So Judge is a different breed. He's an MVP candidate, and he's playing really well. So if he can keep up the pace, and that's what it really comes down to, because his Yankees team is really backed by Aaron Judge so much. Defensively, they have their issues. I mean, that one Red Sox game, DJ LeMahieu had a rough one. So will that be an issue? Will they have issues in the infield getting on balls? But I think this team is still really good. I see them being an ALCS player. That's probably where I see them. That's probably their floor, really. But if they run into those Astros in a 7-game series, you may get some deja vu, but this time it'll actually be honest. So the Yankees, they've got a long way to go before that you can pen them in as World Series champions and give them the pennant. But if they keep playing the way they are now, they might be at the end of the day. Although I do have this other team that I want to talk about. Is it because I'm a fan of them that I'm picking them to win the World Series? Absolutely. The New York Mets. Currently one of the best teams in the National League behind the Dodgers, despite having their injury issues throughout the season. Look at a guy like Max Scherzer, who just recently came back from injury, and the best pitcher of all time, Jacob Degrom. Yes, I made that bold claim. He's coming back from a minor league start. It wasn't a perfect minor league start. It wasn't a shutout like Jacob Degrom always pitches, but he did show that he's solid. He showed he's getting better, getting healthy. And, this rotation for the Mets was something that was talked about for so long. I mean, a Scherzer DeGrom backed duo, and people didn't even know Tyler McGill's name yet when they were talking in the offseason about this rotation. He's been playing really well. 1 through 5, especially with DeGrom back, thinking he's healthy, is going to be a really, really, really dangerous threat to have against all teams, especially in the playoffs and especially in those 5-game series that you're going to play. So this New York Met team, especially, they've got a lot going for them. But I want to get your guys' thoughts on this because, again, Jacob DeGrom is probably the best pitcher of our generation. I know I said he's the greatest of all time. That's the Mets fan in me saying that. You can debate everybody else if you want. But I have, in my personal life, as a 21-year-old man, I've never witnessed a better pitcher than Jacob DeGrom. That's just me. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on these Mets because they've got a lot going for them.
Sure, John. I mean, as much as you want to say they're a favorite because they're your team to win the World Series because you're a fan, I'm going to completely agree with you as someone who's from Kansas City, Kansas, right? The thing we have to look at here is we just got done talking about how the Yankees are the best team in baseball, okay? They're at their full potential, right? All their players are healthy. Everyone is where they want to be in the season right now. Matt Carpenter even just joined the team and he's raking, right? They're firing on all cylinders. The Mets are down two of their two best pitchers, period. Like I don't think you can get better than Max Scherzer and Jacob DeGrom as a 1-2 punch in the MLB right now. I mean, like we just talked about, Nestor Cortez and Garrett Cole are the proven 1-2 punch. Max Scherzer and DeGrom are coming off injury. But to think that this team, with their top 2 threats on the mound, is only 6 games behind what the Yankees have done this season is remarkable. And that just goes to show the offensive production that has gone on in this year. Francisco Lindor started to catch a second gear. Pete Alonso's driving runs in. Jeff McNeil has had an all-star level season. Starling Marte is batting around 300. So this team is playing together a lot like the Yankees are, but the only difference is they're managing to succeed on a Yankees level without the Yankees, without the full roster that the Yankees have. And man, how many more wins this Mets team would have if Jacob Degrom was healthy this season, if Max Scherzer had been healthy all season. So, John, I'm in complete agreement with you. They're my favorite to win the World Series. I think they can trump the Dodgers, even though, the Dodgers are just running through every team in the NL right now. But at full potential, to have Scherzer and DeGrom come out, I would say it's about 95% of the time, it's two guaranteed wins in the playoffs. And it's really hard to buy wins with just a player, but to have two of them is remarkable.
Yeah, I have to. I'm the third to agree with you guys as well too. The Mets are currently in the first place in the NL East, with the Atlanta Braves only 2.5 games behind them as well. With Jacob DeGrom coming back into the pitching rotation, the Mets will get a boost of energy and continue to play some strong baseball as well too. But the real question, John, is will they be healthy enough to make a run off to the playoffs?
Man, as a Mets fan, anyone that knows baseball knows the Mets very well. The Mets are at their peak and at their highest and at their lowest. If the Mets were undefeated at this point, they still remain one of the greatest laughing stocks in baseball, because somehow, some way, it always goes wrong. It will always mess up. Stephen A. Smith loves to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. What can go wrong will go wrong. He has not watched the New York Mets. Okay, it will happen. They will find a way. And when you're playing the Mets and the Yankees at one of the great times, and all you'll hear is drop the ball, and that'll be a great time. But the Mets and the Yankees, that's my World Series, Subway Series pick. That's what I'm going to have happen. And I absolutely wouldn't be surprised if the Mets somehow blow in a Game 7 in the most laughable way possible. That's just the New York Met way. And with Jacob DeGrom, he's always had his injury issues. Will he remain healthy throughout the season? Is it going to be a situation where the Mets are the best team in the NL and then Jacob DeGrom gets hurt in the last game of the season? It's very possible. It's the New York Mets. People are going to get hurt. Things are going to go wrong. Lindor, he's playing well, but how's his ACL looking? Who knows? It's the New York Mets. If you wear blue and orange, who knows? But the hope is that the Mets will be able to stay healthy. They've had injury issues throughout the season, like we mentioned, and it's only going to take time to see if this team can stay healthy. But if they do, I mean, this team's got a great shot to win the World Series. And New York, 1986 was the last time this Mets squad won it all. I wasn't even a thought or close to being a thought. Neither were any of us. It was a very, very long time ago. And a lot of people's memories have faded of the last Mets World Series. Besides that 2015 one where Jackson's Royals had to come out and beat the Mets and, kill all hope of any Mets fan having fun. But that's just the way it is. It's going to happen that way. Congratulations on 2015. That was a long time ago, man. But one thing that's more exciting, and one thing the Mets fans have took some joy in for once, we've won something. Pete Alonso, coming off a World Series, a home run derby victory, he's been great in the home run derby. But this home run derby bracket has really looked pretty sharp. You got Pete Alonso and Ronald Acuna taking each other on, and you got that NL East rivalry. You got Seager and Rodriguez. You got Soto and Ramirez, Kyle Schwarber, and Albert Pujols getting a legacy vote into the home run derby. The machine, can he do it? Maybe one more time. But just kind of, getting away from the actual season of baseball, the home run derby is one of my favorite sporting events to watch. And I think this bracket has a lot of potential to make a really, really entertaining home run derby. And I want to get your guys' thoughts on this one, because seeing Albert Pujols just come out and rake would be the greatest thing ever. Can we get a Pujols-Alonso championship round? I'm in for it. What do you guys think?
Unfortunately, John, I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to stick in the AL Central for this one. I'm a big J-Ram fan. Now, this guy has just been absolutely on a tear this year. And I think with the path to the final round, I believe he can take out Soto. And then if Schwarber, no, you know what? I'll give it to Pujols. But if either of those guys match up against J-Rom, I can see him making it fairly easily. Now, Pete Alonso has really good history in the home run derby. So I don't think he's going to be taking any prisoners when he tries to handle Acuna in the first round. And quite frankly, I would love to see a young Julio Rodriguez make it pretty far. But yeah, I'm going to stick with J-Ram, and to talk a little bit on the stadium that it's in, because Dodger Stadium is a beautiful and perfect location for this. It's exactly what you want in a home run derby field. It is even everywhere. 330 in right, 330 in left, and 385 in center. You're talking about a ballpark that is classic, fun to watch, great history, and it's even everywhere. So it's going to be equal competition. Guys, there won't have to be guys who play to certain strengths versus weaknesses. It'll just be an absolute shower of home runs. And you're right, John. It's going to be an absolute blast to watch.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. This will be a show-stopping event. It will have a lot of rivals and a lot of people competition, like going in, going out. But hopefully, we'll have some good laughs, some good cheers at the end. I'm looking forward to some good bombs being hit out of the outfield as well too.
Yeah, I just always can't wait for the home run derby. It's always so much fun to watch. And again, this year especially, you don't usually see those rivalries. So especially in the first round, it's going to be a good time. Needed some Vlad Guerrero in that one, though. That Pete Alonso Guerrero matchup was always fun. But we're going to move on from baseball here. We've got some basketball going on to talk about. And Kevin Durant has made a lot of noise, but also DeAndre Ayton for the Phoenix Suns was offered a deal by the Indiana Pacers as a restricted free agent. The Suns were forced to match that contract, and they did. DeAndre Ayton will remain a Phoenix Sun at least for a year because he cannot consent, or he has to consent to a trade if the Suns were to do it. And also, it doesn't seem like the Brooklyn Nets are willing to accept that for Kevin Durant, unfortunately. But in terms of DeAndre Ayton, I mean, he could have been an Indiana Pacer. And that would have been one of the most wild things that possibly could have happened in the NBA. You have Miles Turner and DeAndre Ayton together in that front court, but it's not going to happen. So with this Phoenix Suns news, I mean, was this the right decision? And where do they kind of go from here?
Fonz, you want to take it away? I'll give you this one first. Go for it.
Absolutely. The Suns have been getting closer and closer into achieving their stardom, and retaining on Aton seems to be like one of the key pieces into achieving their ultimate goal. Especially, he'll be receiving a 4-year and 133 million contract to remain with the Phoenix Suns. So they definitely want him on the team to back him up with all the basketball stuff. But I actually want to hear from you, Jackson, because I actually know that you know a lot about basketball, and I want to just hear your thoughts and what do you like have to say about this?
As someone who didn't do a lot of basketball watching growing up, but is trying to take a nosedive straight into the NBA, I think it's really the only decision that the Suns had. You know, this was the choice. It was either going to be, hey, are we going to sign and trade Ayton and get KD out of it, but or are we just going to sign Ayton and retain the players that we've had? So this is what happened. Ayton went out, got a contract done with the Pacers, and I think he essentially forced the Suns' hand. Now, KD is asking a load of draft capital, and I don't blame the Suns for passing off on him because you're essentially throwing your future down the drain for a 33-year-old superstar who, don't get me wrong, is probably he's probably a top 3 player in the NBA right now. That's just how we have to put it. But would you rather, face the future and go get another star in an upcoming draft, or be able to make a trade for a different piece? Because I don't think the Suns team necessarily needs a Kevin Durant to make them a NBA Finals caliber team. The real issue was they had a dominant regular season this year. They were absolutely amazing in the regular season, but when it came to, closing out games in the playoffs, they were just awful. And to add, maybe one or two small pieces, maybe a more defensive oriented guy rather than an extra offensive scorer. I think this is a team that's capable of scoring 120, 130 points a game with the core that they have in Devin Booker, Ayton, and CP3. I mean, it really was like confusing for me because I really thought that they were going to make the NBA Finals again. I thought they were going to, give the Western Conference a run, but Steph Curry had other plans, right? But they just didn't finish, and it was kind of disappointing for Suns fans. But I think this is the right move. You took this guy in the first round a couple years ago in the draft as the pick for you guys, and you built him up. He's been a player that's been mentored under D-Book and CP3, and if they can fire on all cylinders again and really just become the caliber of team they were 2 years ago, I think this is another NBA Finals team. And I like the move to re-sign Ayton and not have to bank on the fact that KD will win him a championship right now.
Yeah, I agree with you on that front because you look at DeAndre Ayton, he's a really great center, a star center, young center. And if they went to go out and get Kevin Durant, it would break up the core. And this team has been growing and developing with a lot of these same players for a while now. They would have had to give up a Mikal Bridges as well, DeAndre Ayton. The Nets even asked for Devin Booker himself, which was just simply not happening. Jackson, you said Kevin Durant was a top 3 player in the NBA right now. And no, he's not. I'm just going to say that. You got Giannis, you got Jokic, you got LeBron, you got Embiid, probably a few more, maybe Steph as well. So that's going to be the trail we go on. Jackson, I'm not even going to give you a chance to respond to that. Katie's not a top 3 player, but you know what? It is what it is. We're going to move on, though, with Kevin Durant. Where do we see him ending up, especially with Kyrie Irving? You've got Kyrie. Will he go to the Lakers? Will he go to Miami, Minnesota even? Who knows? I've got Kevin Durant maybe going to Miami. Kyrie will probably be most likely to end up in LA in a Russell Westbrook trade, but will the Lakers really want to do that? Who knows? Or the Nets would really want to do that. Do they want Russell Westbrook? I meant the Nets. Don't worry. I know my basketball. But Kyrie Irving is a tough piece to move. I mean, he's been a diva. He's been someone who doesn't want to get vaccinated. That's led to some issues. It doesn't seem like it's going to lead to any issues anymore. But the Nets, their hand isn't forced to trade Kyrie Irving, and their hand isn't forced to trade Kevin Durant. And they're having trouble finding some suitors, and the prices are way too high. Where do we see them ending up? And yes, Brooklyn is an option.
Yeah, I agree with you, John. Brooklyn's the option, but right now I'm taking KD over LeBron. I know it's a tough take, and you got to respect LeBron, but I think right now, one-on-one, I'm giving it to easy money sniper for sure. But if I'm the Nets in this situation, I keep both players. I do my best to do it because I really don't think that they're going to benefit at all from the Westbrook thing. I think you give Kyrie and KD a chance, although they are two of the most selfish players in the NBA, a chance to run it back because God, I couldn't imagine seeing KD and Westbrook on the floor together. Because if they're worried about two guys who are gonna butt heads on the floor, the beef between them is real. And I don't think the Nets gain a whole lot from having Westbrook over Kyrie. So I think you should keep him. And until the price for KD goes down, there is no team that's going to give up that much draft capital and players in order to sign a guy who is an aging superstar. And don't get me wrong, he's not showing his age, but it's just how much time this guy has on the clock in the future of these franchises. So if I'm the Nets, I'm gonna try and keep both players as best I can. But if anyone is willing to give me, 1, 2 players and 4, 5, maybe even 6 picks for Kevin Durant, I'm hopping on that train as soon as I can.
Yeah, me personally, I'm just gonna keep this cut and dry. Kyrie Irving will most likely end up with the Lakers based on the team and how much he has grown with the team and how much he developed as a player. And Kevin Durant, excuse me, Kevin Durant will most likely not leave the Nets as he will cost more and team tempting to get him much more capital via trades and money. So overall, I think they'll probably stay in the same department personally.
Yeah, I mean, they could go anywhere, really. You got Kevin Durant. I mean, it's just the Nets are asking for too much. I see this going a very interesting way. I see Kevin Durant being traded in the middle of the season. I think he'll get traded right before the All-Star break because he might just hold out and not play for the Brooklyn Nets if he wants to leave so bad. Pull a Ben Simmons situation, his current teammate now. That's where I see Kevin Durant going. I don't even think they trade Kyrie. Depends what they get, though. It depends if teams are offering. One guy that has been thrown in a lot of trade discussions, though, is Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell, one of the youngest stars in the NBA, has now been thrown into trade discussions to the New York Knicks with the Utah Jazz, now maybe looking to get into a full-fledged rebuild here in Utah. They traded Rudy Gobert to the Minnesota Timberwolves for 4 first-round picks and a bunch of players. Can they trade Donovan Mitchell for another batch of first-round picks, maybe some players as well? And you look at the Knicks, they just got Jalen Brunson as well. Julius Randle's still in that squad. They've got a pretty deep roster. And if they're able to add a bona fide star, such as Donovan Mitchell, that could really be a great direction for this Knicks franchise to head in. So, Fonz, I'll start with you. I mean, this is a really great situation to be in for the New York Knicks, depending on what they give up. That's kind of going to be the biggest factor. What do the Knicks give up? Because they can keep a lot of this roster and have a really good basketball team at the end of the day.
I mean, personally, this is a really good trade. The New York Knicks looking solid right now, heading into the upcoming 2022 and 2023 season. If they acquire Donovan Mitchell, the starting lineup will be Bruceson, Mitchell, R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson, unless they trade some of the players, obviously. If this happens, the Knicks will have the best team on paper, period, and it'll be highly enjoyable. And I also feel like RJ Barrett can grow as well too, because we did see some of his performance and it wasn't quite as good. But I feel like he can grow as a person and also in the postseason. Plus he has an average good 30 points per game and his 5 trips on the playoffs as well too. So things could be looking pretty good for the team as well too if they do consider the trade.
The Knicks, the best team on paper. Very interesting take. I mean, that roster is deep. Would they have the superstar talent? Again, you have that deep roster, again, depending on what the Knicks were to give up. I mean, but if you just add Donovan Mitchell, I think that this team is probably around a 4 or 5 seed in the Eastern Conference with that. I mean, are they better than Boston? Are they better than Milwaukee? Are they better than Miami? We will see. It depends on how good you think Donovan Mitchell is. But the Knicks have to make the trade in the first place. So we'll see if that even happens. And we'll even, this is just speculation at this point. And if Donovan Mitchell is a Knick, you'll have to talk about it and hear about it on another Hall Pro because it hasn't happened yet. So we'll get into that another day if that does happen. But things that have happened, trades that have happened in the National Football League. And the Carolina Panthers came in, made some noise. They got Baker Mayfield. Okay. I know Baker Mayfield has been the subject of slander for years upon years, even dating back to his college days. Even when Baker Mayfield won the Heisman, he was getting hate. And was he just completely arrogant in college and still could be a bit arrogant? Absolutely. Okay. That's just the Baker Mayfield personality, and that's just the Oklahoma way. But Mayfield had struggled with the Browns this past season. He went through some injuries, and that shoulder has become an issue. You look at a guy like Cam Newton, who has gone through similar shoulder injuries. Andrew Luck has gone through some shoulder injuries, and you see where their careers went after that. But Baker Mayfield has been working on that rehab, working on all that. So we'll see how good he is in Carolina. And I mean, first off, you have to question, will he win the job against Sam Darnold? This is not going to be fun to watch. I will tell you right now, the people watching that camp, it's going to be a time, but maybe Baker Mayfield will be the star in that. Some people think Sam Darnold's going to win the job. I can't even tell you. I think it's going to be Baker. You know me. But where are the Panthers now? I mean, how is this quarterback kind of brawl going to go?
This is, I'm sorry, John. I don't understand the move at all. Quite frankly, as why a team would carry 3 QBs. I mean, especially none that have like crazy proven themselves. Don't get me wrong. Baker helped the Browns make the playoffs one year, but he's no crazy superstar. And to me, the Panthers front office, I feel like they just like a QB merry-go-round. I mean, last year there were 3 QBs in rotation, and now they're going to be 3 QBs again. They just drafted a project QB. And quite frankly, I think that the move was to not trade for Baker because what you could have done is add Darnold, see if he panned out halfway through the season. And if not, you hand it over to Corral, who, at that point, it's a rookie trying to prove himself with an offense that hopefully by week 8 he would know. And then the Panthers could decide, hey, is he the guy for the future, or do we need to look to the 2023 draft? Because quite frankly, there's some pretty good prospects in the 2023 draft that could be coming up for a quarterback in Carolina. And I don't think this is a team that's going to be they're not going to be a top 2 team. I don't in their division. So I doubt they're going to make the wild card. I think the Bucks and Saints can handle that pretty solidly in that division. So interesting move by the Panthers. Not something that I would have done if I was in the Panthers front office, but desperate times call for desperate measures, and I guess that's what happened.
Yeah, you summed it up quite well. I mean, based on the newly released information from the Browns team, Baker Mayfield was a childish leader. I'm being honest with myself. Although he has a potential of being a good quarterback with a decently high ceiling, his decently high ceiling with his attitude hinders him from progressing. But Sam Darnold has potential of beating out Baker as he has a better football IQ and has better reading of defenses. Baker may be more athletic than Sam, but Sam tops him with his IQ though. So either intelligence or strength. If you ask me, John, I will take IQ over strength. So
Now, here's the thing about that. When you say Sam Darnold has a better IQ than Baker Mayfield, it's not like he has a Tom Brady IQ. Sam Darnold still has a low average IQ in terms of quarterbacks in the NFL, in terms of those high rankings. Baker Mayfield has had his struggles with IQ and decision making and all of that. But yeah, I've also seen Sam Darnold break somebody's ankles before running the ball, and I didn't think that moment was real. I don't remember the team he was playing, but I think anybody who watched the Jets that year knows the moment I'm talking about because I saw that live and I was speechless and my jaw was dropped because Sam Darnold literally broke somebody's ankles and ran for a 35-yard touchdown. It was euphoric. It was dystopian at that point. I didn't know where I was. Okay, but Sam Darnold, I mean, he can win the job. Baker can win the job, but then you forget Matt Corral. They wasted a pick, I guess. But at the end of the day, the Panthers, this is a low risk, high reward move, right? They gave up a 5th-round pick. What are you really going to do with that? I mean, the Panthers, they have drafted well in the past, but you give up a 5th for a quarterback who was the #1 overall pick at some point, not too long ago. I think that's a pretty good trade, right? Even if it doesn't work out, you didn't give up too much, and this guy's got #1 pick potential. And you look at what he's done in the past. He led the Browns to the playoffs and ended Heinz Field on a great note. But it's just this is just such a poor situation. Unless if Baker somehow hits that stride, right? But because that there's always that chance that Baker can hit the stride, that's why I think it's a pretty solid trade because it's just low risk, high reward, and that's what you want, especially in football and even the stock market every now and then. Now, one thing that is just wildly, I have no idea what's going on, and felt even more or less real than the Sam Darnold situation that I was talking about before. Le'Veon Bell will box Adrian Peterson. I'm not kidding. I'm not lying to you. This is going to happen. No, I don't know how much it costs. No, I don't know why this is happening. Le'Veon Bell is going to box Adrian Peterson. Why, how, and when? I need to see this. Okay, just for my curiosity, I will not pay more than $10 for this, but this is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in my life. Will people watch it? I don't even know. Le'Veon Bell has said that he has considered being a serious boxer, will take this year off of the NFL to box Adrian Peterson. I think just nobody wants to sign him. But I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Because this was something that just struck the NFL in terms of news, and I don't even know how to feel.
Listen, if I have to pay money to watch this, I'm not paying my money to watch this. Okay, as as someone who had Le'Veon Bell on his team and was excited about it because we talk about that high upside on players all the time. Uh, the man is washed. Let's be completely honest. He has shattered his reputation with former teams. And John, like you said, he probably couldn't get signed, so he did his next best thing and started a fight with somebody, right? The only people who are going to pay to watch this fight are the close friends of Le'Veon Bell and any Minnesota Vikings fan over the past decade, okay? And I think everyone, if they are, mentally coherent, will be rooting for AP in this fight. I would absolutely love to see AP, the legend, come in and stomp Le'Veon Bell because I know very well that he would do it on the football field. He proved that far and away. So, yeah, if I have to pay to watch this, then I'm going to be scrolling through Instagram and seeing highlights of it the next day. I'm not going to be paying to watch this. Farnsy, let me know what you think, man, because this is just so wild, man. Anyone can box anybody at this point.
yeah, I feel you, Jackson. I actually feel you. This is a topic that I've always been intrigued about: celebrity boxing matches. And now anybody can box anybody nowadays. And I believe, me personally, celebrity boxing matches brought back boxing. We did see boxing slowly decreasing. Not a lot of fans were watching people, actual people that inter- people that entertain us, like players, not players, fighters that actually we enjoy to watch. They don't really get viewers anymore. But now, ever since celebrity boxing, and that has changed everything with boxing. And Leveon Bell boxing Adrian Peterson. Jackson, you're probably right. I'll probably have to go with Adrian Peterson on this one because, my God, what was he thinking? This celebrity boxing match will draw many viewers, and for all the intent purposes, and provide exactly what it's supposed to do for entertainment purposes. And it will be a lot of money to dose out. And I'm not watching it either. I'll probably like watch it on YouTube, wait for the fight, and then we'll see what happens. And I'm really looking forward to that fight if it happens. So, yeah.
Man, I mean, I feel like in terms of celebrity boxing, these are two guys who are very much not even close to the peak of their popularity. This is only an entertaining potentially matchup because they're two former NFL running backs and two guys who have drawn a lot of media attention in the past. In the past is really what you want to emphasize there, because if this happened when Le'Veon Bell was maybe at the peak of his prime, this would have been one of the most watched things. But I don't really see this getting a lot of. I don't even know if I see this profiting, because when you really think about it, unless if this is cheap or free, who is going to watch this, right? It's going to be NFL fans with nothing better to do. This isn't going to attract a lot of boxing fans, and they're not really huge celebrities outside of football. So who's going to watch this? This isn't Jake Paul. This isn't KSI. This isn't Logan Paul or whatever other you want to talk about. This isn't even close to that. It's not going to make any of that kind of money. So, I mean, are these guys going to profit? What is the check? I can't wait to see what happens. I think it's going to be an absolute sham because it's brought back boxing. I also think it's ruined boxing because now people are waiting for celebrities rather than the top class boxers in the world. People would rather watch Mike Tyson fight Roy Jones Jr. in the present day than if they fought in their prime right now, it seems. So nothing makes sense anymore with boxing. I don't understand sports anymore. I guess I should just expect every washed up player, every almost retired player to box each other at some point to see who's more washed up. But I don't think this is going to be very entertaining. I'm probably not going to watch this, and we're probably going to forget this is even going on. We're going to wake up, be like, Le'Veon Bell knocked out Adrian Peterson. We're going to be like, that fight happened. So I don't know if I'm going to promote it that well. We're going to end, though, on a more serious topic and something that actually matters. The Super Bowl, the contenders. There's a lot this year. It's going to be a very, very interesting football season. A lot of close games, a lot of close and tight contenders for the Super Bowl. And I've got a lot of thoughts on this one. I want to get from both of you. I want to get your Super Bowl contender, your main one. I also want to get a dark horse contender because I feel like if there's a year that one of those dark horses are going to win, could be this year. Jackson, I'll start with you this time.
You know, for obvious reasons, best roster in the NFL, we're going Buffalo Bills. And as much as it hurts me as a Chiefs fan, I believe the Bills can get past the Chiefs. Sorry, I just needed a moment of silence to make sure I actually heard myself say that because they still haven't. So, knock on wood. Yeah, so I'm going to do my best to jinx them this year. Say that they're just going to run over everybody. It's going to be different with a new offensive coordinator. I think that'll definitely throw a wrench in the mix. Outside of that, this team is a well-oiled machine that's just going to run over people. I think they're going to go 6-0 in their division, absolutely run through the AFC, and they're going to be the 1 seed. So, as much as it pains me to say, I do believe that the Bills will have the playoffs run through Buffalo, and it'll be tough for any teams that have to walk in there in the cold and play against a team that can play in the cold, yet they play like it's 75 degrees and sunny outside. Okay. Now, dark horse. John, dark horse can mean a whole heck of a lot of things, but I guess, high flying team, something like that with, high risk, high reward type team could be a dark horse, but I guess I'll go based off of betting odds because I'd say a lot of people gauge it that way. Uh, Why are the Cincinnati Bengals the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12th team? They're the 12th highest odds to win the Super Bowl this year. Do we realize that they just went to the Super Bowl? And I know, don't get me wrong, that there were some definite flukes along the way. Trust me, I am a Chiefs fan. I watched them walk into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs after being down by 21. This is not fun. Anyway, why are the Cincinnati Bengals this low? They've only done things to improve in the offseason. They upgraded their O-line. They did what they need to do. And now their only issue is signing star safety Jesse Bates. So really, why are the Bengals this low? Are they trying to hide them from us? Cincinnati, go put your money down on the Bengals, win big for betting odds right now, because I think this is a team that should be in the top 5 for potential. I don't know why Vegas Insider has the Green Bay Packers as their top. I mean, I know Aaron Rodgers is a 2-time MVP, but my man, where is Devontae Adams? He's gone. So put some respect on Joe Cool and the Cincinnati Bengals, as much as it hurts me. I've talked about 2 teams that are going to end up facing the Chiefs at some point this season. But man, John, Buffalo Bills is the obvious choice. And then my dark horse, the Joe Cool or the Joe Brr Cincinnati Bengals.
Now, this question has always been on my mind as I watched football, because I'm a Cowboys fan, but seeing how they performed last season made me really upset, and I kind of cried. I there were some tears to be shedded on those days that I watched the Cowboys played. So you won't be hearing a lot of the Cowboys come out of my mouth, but you will be hearing the Titans though, because I have seen some good plays from the Titans. They performed very well last season. The best chances they have is for the Super Bowl, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm seeing what they have up their scheme because they made some good plays. Good. All I can think about is the plays right now because they made some really nutty plays, and hopefully we can see more of those as well too. And now, as for Dark Horse, this one's actually an interesting one because I would go with the Miami Dolphins. Now, frankly, I'm not no Miami Dolphin fan. Don't get me wrong. I don't like Dolphins, but they have the strongest acquisitions through the free agency, and the draft boosting is already deep wide in the receiving core. So we might be expecting some great things from them along the line. So, in terms of best team overall, I think the Titans would win. And for my dark horse, I would think of Miami's. And that's all I have to say, John.
All right, Tennessee Titans, and then you got the Miami Dolphins. Jackson, you got Buffalo. We got some interesting picks here as well. I'm going to kind of go a little easy for my actual pick. I think the Rams go back to back. They only got better this season. Bobby Wagner and Allen Robinson joining. Cooper Kupp is still that guy. And Matthew Stafford has another year of this offense going. So I know back to back, it doesn't happen a lot. It's never what you want to see. But at the end of the day, the Rams are the best team in football to me. I haven't seen them fall off a cliff. I haven't seen that roster get worse. I've only really seen it get better. And you got more healthy Cam Akers. I mean, this team is going to be really good. That division's always tough, but I'm still going to go with the Rams. I feel like Jackson, you're shaking your head. You don't know what I'm saying here. I got Los Angeles. Okay, some people think the Chargers have a better chance, but you never know.
Von Miller, that's all I'm going to say.
Von Miller,
highest graded pass rusher in the playoffs, got to the quarterback the most, pressured him the most. I'm telling you, man, when you can't throw the ball, you're not going to win. So I think the Von Miller kind of Bobby Wagner exchange that they had this season is going to be their downfall this year.
I mean, Bobby Wagner is still one of the best linebackers in the NFL. It's a good replacement, but yes, Von Miller is a better pass rusher. I will definitely give you that. They got to replace that pass rush, but I mean, I think that they're still going to be pretty solid, especially after acquiring Allen Robinson offensively. If you score 50 points a game, it's not really going to matter if you can get to the quarterback. So we'll see what happens there. But dark horse, I got to go with those good old Indianapolis Colts. I have to go with it. You got Matt Ryan. Jonathan Taylor is the best running back in the NFL besides those Tennessee Titans. Derrick Henry, who knows if he's going to be healthy. I think Michael Pittman's going to be a bit better this year. I like speaking sometimes. A bit better this year on the receiver end. And then they have to acquire maybe some more talent. Who knows what's going to go on with T.Y. Hilton. Defensively, if they can get Darius Leonard and keep him healthy, this defense is still as great as it can be. That offensive line is still the offensive line. When you have Quentin Nelson, a lot of good things can happen. I'll also throw in Minnesota. They've been together a long time. I think that defense is still solid. Kirk Cousins, he's been with his offense for a while. And Dalvin Cook is a great player. Justin Jefferson is just about to hit his peak. Now that I wouldn't put money on. I'm not super confident in it. But I think that, I know, Jackson, you're not huge on these Green Bay Packers. I am quite a fan of Alan Lazard, though, replacing Devontae Adams. But Minnesota, if the Packers have a down year, they can win that division, maybe see what happens. Minnesota might have a shot. But this is going to be a very interesting year in terms of the Super Bowl. We're probably all going to be wrong, and the Kansas City Chiefs will find a way at the end of the day. Who knows what happens? But again, we can only wait. We can only wait and see. Chiefs-Cowboys Super Bowl, maybe we might as well lock it in. You never know. I don't actually think that's going to happen. Don't worry. It's been a pleasure. Do you guys have any final thoughts as we conclude our show?
Thanks for jinxing us, John. Appreciate it, my man.
Of course, anytime.
Thank you very much. I'm always happy to be on the podcast all the time.
It's been a fun one. It's been a great time. Maybe a bit longer than maybe you would have wanted, but Hall Pro has now concluded. I'm John Makuch. I've been joined by the excellent Jackson Shank, the excellent Farnsworth Hendrickson. It's been a fun one. Always fun to come on here for PTV. Have a good one. Keep watching that football.